Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title of this video, we are starting a new vlog. I really love this vlog that I'm about to do. I've done it before, a 24-hour reading vlog, a classic in the booktube community, but the version that I want to do and that you've probably seen other people do is the one where we get like a timer to time like when we're actually reading, so it's not just like a day of reading with like the usual interruptions. It's how much can you read in like a timed 24 hours. The last time I did this, I read like 7.5 books, which is great. That's why I really like this type of video. It really helps me focus on like my Goodreads goal, which is like lacking right now. I think I'm like 15 books behind my goal. I will use like a timer on my phone. For the sake of the video, I'm not going to count audiobooks, not because they don't count as reading, but because it's just like easier for me to like track that way. The first book that I do want to pick up is Arrows of the Queen by Mercedes Lackey. I've been wanting to read from this author for quite some time. I want to read more like fantasy, like older fantasy. I believe this book follows a young woman named Talia, and she gets chosen by a companion named Roland, which is like this magical mystical horse who sees some potential in her, and she starts training to be like a herald of the queen. I don't know if this would technically fall under like YA. I don't know how young our main character is. My dog is scratching himself next to the camera. But other than that, I don't really have a set plan. Can you stop scratching yourself? But other than that, I don't have like a set plan of what to read. The project is like best done with like mood reading. I will start here. It is a Monday. What time is it? It's 1 p.m. on Monday, July the something. I will update you when I have something to talk about. So it is the next day. It is Tuesday. I think it is around like 4 in the afternoon, and I've only read about like an hour and like 30 minutes. I felt ill yesterday and I took a bunch of medication and I pretty much slept the whole day, but I did get about 30 minutes of Arrows of the Queen. So far nothing major has happened. The plot that I gave earlier is pretty much all that I've gotten through. Nothing much more has developed, but I do like it. There's something so refreshing about reading an older fantasy. I think authors have this really good ability, or I see this in older fantasy that I've read. Authors have a good ability of like getting to the point while still being able to like flesh out the world in like a really short, concise way. It's different for me because I do like really long world building, like extensive world building, but this is still good in like such a short amount of time. I'm only like 35 pages in, so yes. My main character is about 13 years old. She lives in a community that is a polygamist, and her father has many wives, and it's not really like speaking negatively of polygamy, but it's something that our main character does not want. She does not want to get married. She wants to be a herald, which is like the queen's guard or something, I don't know. But a companion, a horse companion, finds her, and she's like, I'm gonna have to return him because he belongs to someone. I don't know who. It belongs to a herald. So yeah, that's pretty much it so far. I'm liking it. And before I went to sleep for the second time yesterday, I picked up the second book in Holly Jackson's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder or whatever. I read that first book. I really enjoyed it. It's a good mystery like thriller series, or at least the first book was pretty good for me. I thought about rereading it because I wasn't sure if I would remember anything or if I have to reread the first one to like understand the second one. And because this focuses on a girl who like makes a podcast, there was a really good like recap at the beginning of the book. So the second book is called Good Girl, Bad Blood, something like that, and we're following our same main character from the first book, and now she's like investigating a disappearance. Like one of her friends just disappeared. I do really appreciate the consciousness that this author has about true crime genre. Recently it's been getting really out of hand. I don't know if you saw, like for example, this like YouTuber was asking people to pay for access to like autopsy photos of a young boy who had died, like IRL, which is sick. But yeah, I highly recommend true crime nuts to maybe pick up fiction instead. It's healthier and less people don't have to be used for entertainment after they die. So yes, that's pretty much the update. Like I said, I've only read about like an hour and 30, so I will probably continue this, and in the evening when the sun goes down and I don't want to read in the dark, I'll pick up the Good Girl, Bad Blood. Okay, so I'm gonna whisper because it's really like late slash early in the morning. The 27th, oh, you can't really see that, unfortunately. As a reminder, I started the vlog on Monday and it's Thursday, 6:15 in the morning, and I just finished my first book. I read throughout a majority of the night. I've read for almost like 5.5 hours. I was in the middle of 2 books. I finished Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, the YA book, because it's on my Kindle so I can read it at night. I just turned on my ring light, but I finished that book first. It was easier to get through. I would give it about 4 stars. I really liked it. I really had fun with it. The beginning was kind of slow and I was like not really sure where it was going, but I thought it was interesting and it wrapped up really well. Some things were kind of thrown in at the end, kind of like here's a bone, but it was fun, entertaining, which is what I like for these types of stories. YA mystery thriller can be, I guess, a little more camp, and I appreciate when authors do that. That's my first book. I am like halfway done with Arrows of the Queen, so I will finish that one next. I am also in the mood for sci-fi, so I think my next book will be a sci-fi read. I'm on page 164 and I think this book is a little over 300 pages, so I'm almost done. That is the update. I have about 18.5 more hours left of this challenge, so peace. Okay, so it is actually Friday now. It's almost 3 p.m. This challenge, like I said, fun, but it is actually like you'd be surprised how much like time it takes to read. Well, it's 24 hours, obviously. That's how much time I'm taking to read. I don't know if you can see that, but I have about almost, what is it, 7.5 hours of reading. Don't check my math. I don't do math. I did finish my second book, which is Arrows of the Queen. Like I said I would. I really enjoyed this. It reminded me of the first book of the Song of the Lioness Quartet by Tamora Pierce, which I love. The majority of this felt very like cozy. The end did have actual like more higher stakes, but I think the majority of the book really focused on our main character Talia finding a home for herself. Like I said before in the summary, our main character gets chosen by like this animal companion, and she is basically in training to be a herald of the queen, specifically the Queen's Own, which is a very big, it's an even bigger title than just being like a herald. There's like a motorcycle dude like in front of the house, but yeah, it's also like a school setting because she needs to learn how to like do her magic. She needs to learn a bunch of stuff, so there's a school setting, making friends, family, that whole type of thing. There are sad moments and tense moments towards the end, but it felt mostly cozy. Like if you're reading this book, you'll be like, where's the actual like conflict? There's no major conflict. There was, again, at the end. Something else, this book was published in the late 80s. There is a queer relationship, which is so normal, or for me it's more normal because I know what I pick up, but did not know that going in. For this one, we have a sapphic relationship, a side relationship, but I appreciated that. It does feel like a breath of fresh air compared to like what is being published today. There's a lot more wholesomeness and like clear distinction of right and wrong here. There are some aspects of the book that I'm not like super happy about. For example, our queen does have a daughter and she's like not well behaved, and that's like one of the tasks our main character has, is to kind of like mature her a little. She's young, but she needs to mature before she can like be like the actual heir to the throne. So they do believe in like spanking and like more physical punishment, which I don't like that, but that's something that they do here, for example. So yeah, I really liked it. I would like to continue on with not just like this series but other stuff by Mercedes Lackey, so I'd say this is a win. As far as what I'll read next, I'm not really sure. I wanted to read a sci-fi, and I was gonna pick up this, but I found out this was YA. Not that I don't want to read YA, but the last 2 books are kind of youngish, so I wanted to read something more adult. Actually, so I just checked my library and I got in The Spare Man, I think is what it's called. I think it's a finalist for one of those awards. I think I'll read that. It is a library book. I wanted to read more physical books off my shelves, but it's okay. I know what I want to read and I don't want to ruin the mood, so we're gonna pick up that by Mary Robinette something. I know this author's written other like sci-fi books. I'll put a picture up right here so you know what I'm talking about. But it's like sci-fi. Our main character is in space on her honeymoon, and then someone dies, and I think she has to investigate it. So mystery detective in space. Sounds great. I hope I enjoy it. So yeah. So I'm about, by the way, it's Monday again. It's 2 in the afternoon. It's been a week since I started this vlog. I'm very bad at reading in the weekends because I get distracted. But yes, this vlog has gone into a week. It won't be a week for you because I'm editing it, but it's been a week for me. I'm still reading The Spareman by Mary Robinette Kowal, I think is the author's name. I have about an hour left of reading. I'm almost done. I'm not loving this. I think this was nominated for like a Hugo or something, and I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm not saying it's amazing either. It is a pretty standard like whodunit type of mystery. Our main character is on her honeymoon with her husband on this like intergalactic space cruise to Mars. She's very wealthy. Our main character has chronic pain. She was in an accident and she has like pins and rods in her back and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that she has to deal with. This sci-fi world is fairly like progressive, I guess. I don't mind it, but if someone who watches Fox News might read this book and like lose their minds, because everyone always introduces themselves by my name is first, last, and here are my pronouns. Like everyone does that and it's standard. And at first it was a little like really like pushed narratively. I was like, okay, I get it. Like everyone's pretty open about like gender expression and stuff like that. I guess in the beginning of the book the author really wanted to hammer that in. What else? I'm not wowed by anything. It's fine. Some parts are pretty boring, some parts get interesting. You know, there's nothing groundbreaking about this that I'm like, oh yeah, this should definitely win like a Hugo or whatever, or it needs all this like, you know, praise and stuff. It's fine. It's completely fine. Sci-fi mystery novel. I do like the relationship between our main character and her now like her new husband. They're really adorable. They get each other really well. They get along well. So if anything, there's something to praise is I guess that relationship. But other than that, it's just fine. I'm trying to think about anything else that's like noteworthy or whatever. You know, it has like your average amount of like sci-fi talk. I don't know if you'd call this cozy because there's like, I don't know, there's certain elements that go into like a cozy mystery that this doesn't really have. This is sci-fi. It takes place in like, I guess maybe the near future, far near future, I don't know, but it's okay. I wish I had more to say about this. It's just fine. I'm probably just gonna give it 3 stars. So yeah, this is like my 3rd update at like 3 in the morning. I've had like 2 or 3 in this vlog by now. I don't know why. I get all my reading done in the dead of night. It's chill. It's more relaxing, less interruptions. But I did eventually finish The Spareman by Mary Robinette Kowal. Like I said before, it's like a 3-star read. You know, some moments were just boring. It's not like nothing was happening. Things were definitely progressing in the story. I was just like unfazed by a lot of it. It was a nice wrap up. It was a nice whodunit. People were dropping like flies. It was great. This is actually a really nice angle. You can see both of my like read shelves, and this is like the beginning of my unread shelf. But yeah, so that is like my update. I have about almost 12 and a half hours left, and I do already know what I'm gonna read. I'm not sure which one, but let me show you. Okay, so I got what I kind of want to read next. I have 4 different Don May novels. I did a book haul a while ago, and I featured these books that I found at the Goodwill. I just picked them up because they had amazing covers, but I did not know they were like Chinese translated Don May novels, which is like BL Chinese literature. But I have the Scumvillain Self-Saving System. I also have the first Husky and His White Cat Shizen. I also have that one. I also have Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, and I also have Heaven's Official Blessing, which I believe has also been adapted. So I have a few series that I could start, and I do have like a couple of like the sequels to these. I think I have like the four volumes of Heaven's Official Blessing, for example. But yeah, I could read any of these. I've been wanting to pick them up for quite some time. These covers are like stunning. Like, come on now. I'll just choose one that kind of jumps out to me. and then we'll go from there. So I ended up picking up Heaven Official's Blessing by MXTX. I'm not gonna butcher their name. I don't know how to do the tones. So that is the writer of this like web novel that got published. I'm really enjoying it. It took me about 35 minutes to get through the prologue and the first chapter. I've never read Wuxia or Shansha, I think that's the way it's pronounced, or Danmei or anything like that, so this is all very new to me, though I do know like general elements of the genre. Excuse me for like the pronunciation of like some of these characters and stuff. We follow this man who is a crown prince of this kingdom, and while he was still like the prince in the mortal realm, because of his good deeds, he did eventually ascend into the heavens, but he did some things and eventually got like kicked out, and he like descended back into the mortal realm, and then he ascended again, which is rare in itself, but then he immediately got kicked out again, and then he ascended for the third time, and by this third time other like heavenly bodies are very like annoyed with his presence. So like the emperor of the heavenly kingdom has basically tasked him to do a bunch of things in order to like make up for like the ton of people that he's like pissed off, and to make up for his like misdeeds in the past. There's like a hint of like humor in this, which I did not like expect there to be such like lightness to this. I didn't really know what I was expecting, again, because I've never read anything like this before. So yeah, it is really funny to be reading this, and then, you know, he gets back into the heavens for the third time, and everyone's like, well, how did you get back here? Like, that's crazy. I haven't gone far enough into the story to like meet the love interest, so I can't really talk so much about like any like romantic aspects of this, but I'm having fun. I'm being introduced to a lot of stuff like cultivation and a lot of like Taoist elements that I'm not familiar with down here in South Texas. I'm glad to be experiencing something like new in this vlog. So, and I officially have like less than like 12 hours for this vlog, so hopefully I'll finish this and maybe pick up like 2 more things if I'm lucky, but we'll see. So it's currently Friday, week 2 of doing this challenge. I did it better the last time, but I'm almost done. I have about 7.5 hours left because I did finish earlier this morning Heaven Official's Blessing by MXTX. Again, not gonna butcher their name. I really enjoyed this. I obviously loved exploring a genre with certain tropes and you know, things that are required of that genre that I've never read before, so I really enjoyed it. This was also just very fun. You can kind of separate this book into 2 major parts. There's 10 chapters, but there's 2 like major plot lines that we follow. I kind of think of it as like monster of the week, at least in this book. Like the first 5-ish chapters we focused on one threat, and then the next there's another one, but we obviously do follow our main character who was a prince in his like normal mortal life, but once he ascended, you know, he's ascended 3 times, which is like abnormal, does not happen. He does not have a great reputation. A lot of other heavenly beings don't like him. He's bad luck. It's also very humorous. I did not expect it to be so like light and funny sometimes. I'm assuming it's going to be more of a slower burn when it comes to the actual romantic interactions between our main character and his love interest. I don't know if it's a spoiler or not. I think it's pretty like obvious as to where the story's going, like once you get like to the first couple chapters. Skip over if you don't want to hear it, but I just really love this idea of like a heavenly figure who's probably like followed a lot of tenets in like Taoism, and his love interest being a being from like the ghost realm. I don't know, I'm into it, I'm loving it, so very excited for this. I have the first 4 volumes, so I'll get like into the next one when I am in the mood for it. As to what I'll read next, I did want to read a few of the books that I got in from my library, but I do think I should still focus on reading more of my physical shelves. This is everything that I've read. These are read books. I have probably twice as many books unread as what I have here. The first thing that I did finish was a mystery thriller, and I think I kind of want to go into that direction again, but I'm gonna pick up the book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I've read 2 of her books before and I absolutely love them, and there's a mystery thriller component to them, but there's also almost always like a paranormal element. I hope that's not spoilery if you've never read Simone St. James, but I don't know too much about this one other than we follow like a crime blogger, which it's interesting because the the first book that I finished was also following like a podcaster who's like really into true crime. I hope that this also touches on like the ethics of true crime, how sometimes some people aren't really in it for like good reasons, you know, awareness of like people who are maybe still missing, or like actual, again, cold cases. Whereas I feel like when a lot of people go into true crime, like people that we've seen on social media, it's for entertainment, it's for, you know, like spooky, you know, stories, I guess. Or it's very unfortunate that sometimes the victims of these true crimes are seen as like a warning, like here's what you should not do, and using them as an example. And I think that's really unfortunate, because they're real people who obviously didn't want to be at the center of a true crime podcast or whatever. So we're gonna go with this. I hope I really enjoy it. The text is a little large and it doesn't seem to be such a long book, so hopefully I can get through this. Again, I only have 7.5 hours left, so hopefully I can get through this, and if time willing, another book or maybe something graphic, like graphic novels, manga or something that I can pick up. I have been wanting to reread Skip Beat, which I love, so we'll see about that. We'll read this first. Hi, so I am currently editing the vlog, and I thought while I'm waiting for some videos to import, I would give you an update on the Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I took off the cover, but this is exactly what I thought it was going to be. I know what this author writes. I know the vibes that I'm supposed to get. In the books that I've read, she does do a lot of dual timeline stories. In the present, we follow a woman who's kind of down on her luck, recently divorced, living in a not very great apartment complex. Her job's okay. She does run a like true crime blog in her spare time after work, and she gets the opportunity to interview this woman who was the primary suspect in like a triple homicide. And this woman's much older now. She's not young. She's, you know, I think the author describes her as like Helen Mirren type. And then the past timeline is we follow this character while she's younger and being questioned for a crime that she may or may not have committed. Our main character, not the woman who was suspected of the crime, has gone through her own trauma, and I guess she uses true crime as a way to cope. And I did talk about how I hope that the true crime in this book, like the last book, is a little bit more aware of the ethics, the problems with the ethics behind true crime. I feel like that might be addressed in like a different way, but we'll see. I'm only 100 pages in. If you read any of this author's other popular work, then you know exactly what you're gonna get. It's not exactly the same story, but the same like elements and stuff you'll see. So I'm enjoying it, and I'm editing the vlog, so hopefully this should be out soon. How much? I think I have like 6 hours left last time I checked, so yeah. So I did end up finishing the Book of Cold Cases, and overall I'm giving it a 4. I have about 4 hours left. Let me show you. That's how much time I have right now, so I'm almost done. I probably have only like a book in me, or like I can probably only finish a book and maybe start another one. But before I get into that, the Book of Cold Cases, a majority of the time I thought I was going to give this book like a 3.5, mostly because there's a particular trope in this book that I don't like. Not because it's bad or the author did it badly, I just don't like it. The way some people don't like enemies to lovers or friends to lovers, or like, I don't know, school settings or whatever. I don't like a particular element of this book that I can't, like, the author can't help. The author wanted that element in the story, and we're gonna get it. I don't like it. It's just, it's not fun for me. What I did like about this book is the particular element of true crime that the author is talking about, and that is how women are looked at in true crime. And I know I talked about earlier how I hope this book might take like a more realistic, more sympathetic approach to true crime in regards to the ethics. And while we didn't really get that, I do at least appreciate how this author has so many women in this book playing different facets of true crime, whether you be like the audience or a woman who is like running a podcast, which a lot of true crime content is consumed by women, particularly white women who are victims of crimes, or women who are perpetrator of crimes. You have all of that in this book, and I think that's something the author really wanted to focus on. So if that's something that you're interested in, this book definitely has that. I really liked one female character in this book. She is the one who's been accused of this crime, this like 40-year-old crime that she got acquitted of. I really liked her character. I grew to like her a lot. She's not like a good person by any means. She definitely has done some bad things, but I really liked the nuance in her character. Multifaceted, I guess, is how you can describe her for sure. I definitely think that's where the author shines in this book. I really like that one character. I always like this in books, is when a character has maybe like a little bit of a romance. It's not by any means like the main takeaway of this book, but something sprinkled in there that doesn't distract me, or something that isn't bad enough that I have to like critique it while I'm supposed to be like reading this like true crime story. The romance, again, very, very small, wasn't bad enough that I was like, my attention was taken away from the actual story. So I always like when authors do that. I know not everyone does, but I like a nice little like, you had a bad life, here's a boyfriend, you know what I mean? So that being said, it's also not my favorite Simone St. James. I like her other two books, The Sundown Motel and The Broken Girls. I think that's what the first one is called. Yeah, I have The Broken Girls as well. I don't have a physical copy of The Sundown Motel. I'd rather have that physical copy because I really like that one. I don't love this one, and I don't think I'll keep it on my shelves for long. I unfortunately already filmed a unhaul, so this is gonna be on my shelves for a while until I do another unhaul, which might take a while because I don't unhaul a lot. The next thing that I'm gonna pick up, probably the last book that I'll finish in this vlog, is the first book in the Bartimaeus trilogy by Jonathan Stroud. This is the Amulet of Samarkand. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I've read Jonathan Stroud's other Lockwood and Company series, like 4 books in that series. I really enjoy them, but I've heard this one's also like much better, like a much better work from him. So I hope I really enjoy it. I think it's middle grade fantasy. Our main character is 11 years old, so I'm assuming that's what it is. And we follow a magician's apprentice, and he summons a genie for like not the best reasons, and he kind of gets into some like trouble, I'm assuming. So I just finished part 1 of the Amulet of Samarkand. That's about 130 pages in. First of all, this book is a lot denser than it like looks. I think it's only like a little under 300 or 400 pages, so I thought maybe, you know, I could read it in like 3.5 hours ish, because I only had 4 to start when I started reading this. But I'm about 2.5 hours in, and I only just finished 100 pages and some, so I don't know if I'll even finish this before the time's up, but I think I have a good grasp on the story. That's another thing. I think you definitely need to get through at least part 1 to kind of like understand like what like the summary of it is. You know, you have one in the back of the book, but to get like a good grasp of the world, it took me this much, which isn't bad, but it's not something that I expect for something that I thought was middle grade. I guess you could also argue like really like YA, but the character's really young for YA. He's only 11, but he does read a little older, like 15, 16 instead of 11. But the story is pretty much what I said it was. We follow a apprentice magician, and he's very young. He's not like obviously mature enough to like go through like all the things that magicians have to go through when like until they get like older. You can tell he's pretty ambitious, and he wants to kind of advance his abilities faster than what is normal for a preteen. So he summons a genie without, you know, adult supervision, without the supervision of his mentor. You know, very ambitious kid, mostly because he wants to get back at this older magician, like an actual adult who kind of bullied him. And so yeah, that's pretty much the story so far. Again, it is denser than I expected it to be. Not that it's hard or anything, but I would definitely feel like it reads maybe YA instead of middle grade. We'll see how long it takes me to finish this, or if I won't finish this before the time is up, but this is definitely the last thing I'll probably read before the vlog ends. So okay, so I officially finished the vlog. Unfortunately, I did not finish this last book, The Amulet of Samarkand by Jonathan Stroud. This book is deceptively long. For some reason, I thought it was just under 400 pages, but first, like, someone magically added like 450 pages. I don't know, but I did not finish it. I got to page 268, which is nothing to like laugh at. Like, I read all this and I'm enjoying it so far. I won't go into detail because I haven't finished it. Don't want to give my full thoughts because I haven't read it in full, but I am enjoying it, even if the ending right now is a little slow. But this is what the last 4 hours have been. So yes, let's recap before I close off the vlog. So in total, I did read about like 5 and almost 6 books, which is not as much as last time, but some of these books are a bit thicker than last time. I know I read like Legends and Lattes the last time I did this, and that's much shorter. I think I read maybe a little bit more YA last time I did this, so it's a little bit lengthier, a little more denser. The first book that I did finish was Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. I still really enjoyed this. I'm getting back into like my YA like mystery thriller bag. I love YA mystery thrillers. They're so fun to me, and they're obviously like really easy to read. They're very like popcorn-esque, and I gave that like a 4 out of 5 stars. I also finished Arrows of the Queen by Mercedes Lackey. In general, pretty like fun start to the series. Just had some problems with it, but there was something very fun and like nostalgic, even though I've never read this before, but like nostalgic vibes because it is older fantasy. I give this one like 3.5 out of 5 stars. I read The Spare Man by Mary Robinette Kowal. Not super happy with this one. It wasn't bad, but I just expected more for something that's like getting a ton of praise, so I gave that one 3 stars. Heaven Official's Blessing by MXTX. Really happy with this one. I really want to continue on with obviously this series, but other Danmei, specifically from this author who I know is very well liked. I would give this one like 4.5 stars. And the last book I finished was The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. Would give it 4 stars overall for like what themes this author is touching on, so that's not too bad for a vlog. So I'm happy with myself. Now I can finally get back to reading some library books. I've not picked up any urban paranormal in a while because I was doing this vlog, and that is something that I've been craving, but I didn't want to read like a sequel in this vlog. So this vlog should be up soon. I just need to put in the last couple of clips, and if not by today, then tomorrow. I mean, you'll know when it's up because it'll be up. Feel free to talk to me down below in the comments about anything that I've talked about. I'd like to hear anything you have to say down below. I will also link my social medias as well as some far more important links down below. Feel free to like, dislike, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all cool with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.